Sacramento, last summer. I am visiting a friend I have not seen in 7 years. He is a long-haul trucker, gone 10 months out of every 12, so he rents a small house in a rough neighborhood for almost nothing, because what does he need a nice house for if he is never in it? We come out of his place around 8 in the evening, walking down to the corner store for beer and meat for the grill. A normal Tuesday in May. We turn one corner, and the curb has stopped being a curb. It has become a neighborhood. Old vans, older minivans, tarps stretched between side mirrors, plastic sheets duct taped where windows used to be, a camp chair next to a wheel well, a propane bottle on the asphalt, a bag of laundry that had given up trying to look like laundry, and the smell. The smell hit me before I saw the second vehicle. It was the smell of something that had stopped being alive, even though I could see through the gaps in the plastic that there were people inside. Some of them were watching us walk past. I lasted 2 minutes, then I turned around and walked back the way we came. Walked, then almost ran. I felt sick, and I felt guilty for feeling sick because those were human beings, and I was running from them like they were a contagion. I am telling you this because what happened next, over dinner, changed how I understand survival. Because 2 hours later, I was sitting at a table with a man who has been living inside a vehicle for 10 months a year, for almost a decade. And on him, it does not look like Sacramento. On him, it looks like dignity. It looks like a man who chose freedom and bought it with discipline. Same city, same Tuesday. 2 completely different ways to live in a vehicle. The difference is not money. The difference is not luck. The difference is a set of rules that nobody teaches you, and one mistake that is killing people we never hear about. I am Max, and today, on Outfox Apocalypse, I am giving you the rules my friend has been living by for 10 years. The corrections that came out of more than 400 of your comments under my last vehicle video, and the one invisible killer that takes out long-haul drivers, van lifers, and ordinary people sleeping in their car after a job loss, quietly, in their sleep, without ever making the news. Before I go any further, I owe the pack a thank you. When I put up 8 vehicle survival rules 3 weeks ago, hundreds of you left comments. I read every single one. A woman who lived in a Silverado in upstate New York with a fresh amputation. A retired military man who took a 2.5-month solo road trip after cancer remission at 63. A UK van dweller working full-time because he cannot afford rent. An OTR truck driver with 20 years on the road who handed me a list of small things that nobody else covers. This video is not mine. You wrote it. I am just the one putting it on tape. So before we go anywhere, thank you the pack. Keep talking. I keep listening. Now, let me start with a correction, because in the last video, I told you a 5-gallon bucket can do 5 jobs. Toilet, water carrier, laundry, storage, stool. 5 functions, 1 bucket, $3. And I meant it as a flexibility lesson, that one cheap object covers a dozen needs in 60 square feet. But 1,000 of you wrote back with the same correction, and you were right. You cannot poop in the bucket you carry your drinking water in. You cannot soak laundry in the bucket you store rice in. You can have a bucket with 5 potential roles, but on any given day, that bucket is doing exactly one job, and it had better not be cross-contaminating the other 4. So, here is the corrected rule. 3 buckets minimum. Buy 3. They are about $4 each at any hardware store. Color code them with electrical tape, so even at 3 in the morning, in the dark, half asleep, you grab the right one. Bucket 1, water and clean, white tape. This bucket carries drinking water, holds clean dishes, and lives near the front of your vehicle. It never touches anything dirty. Ever. Bleach rinsed weekly. The day it gets used for anything else, you throw it out. Bucket 2, toilet. Red tape. This is your sealed bag-lined toilet. Always lined with 2 contractor bags, one inside the other. sawdust, kitty litter, or peat moss in the bottom to absorb moisture and kill smell. Bag goes out at the next dumpster. The bucket itself stays sealed when not in use. Lives in the back, away from food. Bucket 3, gray water and laundry. Yellow tape. This catches dishwater, takes a small amount of soak laundry, holds wet rags. It lives outside the vehicle when possible. The smell I ran from in Sacramento? That was Rule 1 violated for months. People stop separating buckets when they are exhausted, broke, sick, or alone. And the second they stop, the inside of their vehicle becomes the inside of a sick person's lung. Sanitation is not a luxury. Sanitation is the line between living in a vehicle with dignity and decomposing in one. Next correction, and this one is short, but it is the kind of small thing that quietly destroys people. Never sleep in the driver's seat. A retired truck driver named Mike. That is not his real name, but he posted under that handle, explained it in the comments, and got 19 likes for what should have been the most obvious rule on the channel. He said, "Veterans on the road will tell you your body learns where it sleeps. Whether or not the peer-reviewed science is locked down on the exact mechanism, the rule is universal among long-haul drivers. If you spend 2 weeks falling asleep behind the steering wheel, even for naps, even fully reclined, your body starts associating that posture with shutdown. And then one afternoon, 2 weeks later, you are sitting at a red light at the end of an 8-hour drive, and your body says, 'This is the position. We sleep now.' And it does. For 2 seconds, and 2 seconds at 50 miles an hour is the rest of someone else's life. Sleep in the back, always in the back. Bench seat folded down, an air mattress, a foam roll, anything but the driver's seat. The driver's seat is for driving. Your brain needs to know which seat means which thing. Veterans who slept in vehicles for years all say the same thing. The day you blur the line is the day you start having problems on the road. Now, let me bring my friend back into this, because the next section is his 5 rules he gave me at dinner in his kitchen, with the windows open and the smell of grilled meat trying to push the smell of Sacramento out of my head. He is 35 years old. He has been driving long haul for almost 10 years. The trucks he runs have all been newer than 2010. That is the only constant. Beyond that, he says, all sleeper cabs are basically the same, and you adapt to whichever one you got handed that quarter. What is not the same? What makes the difference between a man who looks like he lives in a truck and a man who looks like he chose to is what he does inside the routine. 5 things. 1. Walk every safe stop. He never stays inside the truck longer than he has to. The moment he parks somewhere safe, a truck stop with cameras, a pilot lot in a decent town, a state-approved rest area, he gets out, walks the perimeter, looks at the people, looks at the exits, reads the energy of the place in 5 minutes. He does not do this because he is paranoid. He does this because moving is what keeps you sane in a 60-square-foot life, and reading a parking lot is a skill that has saved his life twice. The people who never get out, the ones who eat, sleep, and scroll their phone inside the cab, are the ones who go strange in 3 months and broken in 6. 2. Hygiene is not optional. It is religion. He showers every single time it is possible. TA and Petro shower codes that come with a fuel purchase. $12 to $15 walk-in, or free with a 50 to 60 gallon diesel pump in a private locked stall, towels included, cleaner than 90% of motel rooms in this country. Pilot and Love's the same deal. When he is not at a truck stop, he uses Planet Fitness, $15 to $30 a month depending on tier, 24 hours at many locations in every state, hot showers, and clean tile. When even that is unavailable, he does the trucker military shower with a wet washcloth and a quart of water. 3 minutes, head to feet, every day, never skipped. He told me, the moment you start skipping showers, the people around you start treating you differently, and 3 weeks later, you start treating yourself differently, And that is how the slide begins. 3. He cooks his own food, almost always. He does not eat truck stop fried garbage, and he does not live on gas station hot dogs. He buys real ingredients at grocery stores along the route. Small list, fast turnover, what fits in a 12-volt cooler. And he cooks them in the cab on a single propane burner outside the truck, or a 12-volt induction unit inside, working from YouTube videos he watches on his phone. Rice and beans, eggs and tortillas, chicken thighs that take 8 minutes. He told me restaurant food is loneliness in a wrapper. Real food, even simple, is the line between a man on the road and a man losing the road. 4. He talks to other drivers, constantly. Not on the radio, though he uses it. In the lot. Walking around, sharing coffee. He says drivers know things that no app and no government database has. Which way stations are running tonight? Which exits have been getting ugly? Which lots have had break-ins this month? Which routes still have working showers after the fire? The trucker network is a living, breathing intelligence service for the road, and a man who never talks to other drivers is a man who finds out about every problem the hard way. 5. He keeps a paper atlas. A Rand McNally Motor Carriers Atlas, about $35 for the standard edition, around $60 for the laminated deluxe, sold at any TA. He marks it. Routes that worked. Lots that did not. Construction zones that lasted longer than promised. Rest areas with showers, rest areas without. When his phone has no signal, and at 1 in the morning in eastern Wyoming it does not, that book is the only thing telling him where the next safe place is. The OTR driver in my comments said the same thing. 350 likes on a single sentence. Get the atlas. Mark it. The phone will fail. The book will not. And one more thing he showed me before I left. Back into every parking spot. Always. Never pull through. When you back in, your front bumper points at the lane and you can see what is coming. When you pull through, the back of your vehicle hangs into the row, and at 3 in the morning, a tired driver coming around the corner does not see the rear of your car until he is already in it. This rule is not just for truckers. If you sleep in your Subaru in a Walmart lot tonight, back into the spot. The 5 seconds it costs you are insurance against a stranger's mistake. These habits, walking, hygiene, cooking, talking, mapping, backing in, are why my friend looks like a man who chose his life. None of them cost much. All of them are habits, and every single one is missing in the vans I ran from on Sacramento curb. There is no fence between dignity and decay. There is only routine, repeated daily, that keeps you on one side of it. But there is one thing that takes everything I just said and makes it worthless. One thing that has quietly killed long-haul drivers in their sleeper cabs and ordinary people in their own driveways for as long as anyone has been heating an enclosed space. One thing that does not care whether you are a long-haul professional with a Planet Fitness membership or a 65-year-old retired teacher sleeping in her Subaru after a flood. It does not care about your bucket system. It does not care about your atlas. It does not announce itself. And it kills more people in their sleep than any other household toxin in America. Carbon monoxide, CO, the invisible killer. Here is the scenario. You are living in a vehicle. It is winter. The temperature drops below freezing at night. The factory heater in your car or truck only works when the engine is running, and idling all night burns your fuel down and is illegal in many states. So you reach for an aftermarket heater. The two most common are propane, the Mr. Heater Buddy, and similar units, and diesel air heaters, including a flood of cheap Chinese knockoff brands like H-Calorie and Vivor that sell for roughly $100 to $170 on Amazon. The original brands, Webasto Airtop and Espar Airtronic, run between $1,400 and $2,000 for the OEM units. The knockoffs look identical, are sold by the millions, and have a known, documented, life-threatening problem. The CDC reports that roughly 400 to 450 Americans die every year from unintentional carbon monoxide poisoning unrelated to fires. Roughly a third of those deaths involve vehicles, running engines, faulty exhaust systems, and aftermarket heaters bleeding into the cabin. Van dwellers and trucker forums have documented dozens of close calls and deaths from cheap diesel heaters where the exhaust pipe vibrated loose. The gasket between the unit and the floor pan failed, or the chimney was incorrectly routed and pumped exhaust into the cabin all night. The driver does not wake up. There is no fire, there is no smell, there is no sign. CO bonds to your hemoglobin 250 times more readily than oxygen, and a person sleeping in 800 parts per million is dead in 2 to 3 hours. Symptoms when you are awake: headache, dizziness, confusion, nausea. Most people mistake them for fatigue or a cold. When you are asleep, you do not get symptoms, you just stop waking up. Here is what stops it: a battery-powered carbon monoxide detector. The Kidde C3010 with its 10-year sealed lithium battery, or the simpler Kidde KNCOB LP2 basic alarm. $20 to $50 depending on model, closer to $50 if you want the digital display that shows you the live ppm reading. Mount it at head height when you are lying down, your breathing zone. CO is roughly the same density as air and mixes evenly through the cabin. It does not pool on the floor like propane or rise to the ceiling like smoke. Manufacturers permit wall, ceiling, or tabletop placement, but in a vehicle, the smart spot is right next to your face. The alarm is 85 decibels at 10 feet, and you want it close to your ear, not 3 feet above your head behind a curtain. Test it the day you install it. Test it the first cold night. Replace it on the date the manufacturer prints on the label. A second detector if you can afford one, $20 more. Redundancy. The first one fails, the second one screams. If you use propane, the Mr. Heater Buddy is genuinely safe when used correctly. And unlike the cheap diesel units, it has an oxygen depletion sensor and tip-over shutoff built in. But used correctly means a window cracked open all night to allow air exchange. It means never bringing a tank larger than 1 pound into the cabin. 20-pound tanks stay outside, always, even during the day, connected through Mr. Heater's hose and filter accessory. And it means a CO detector still on, because a sensor on a heater is a backup, not a guarantee. If you use a diesel air heater, install it correctly, or do not install it at all. Have a professional or an experienced van builder check the exhaust seal, the floor pan grommet, and the chimney rote. Do this before the first cold night, not after. If you use the engine for heat, never do it in an enclosed space. Never with the exhaust facing into a snowbank. Never in a garage. And limit it to short bursts. The smell of death I ran from in Sacramento was obvious. You could smell it from 10 meters. Carbon monoxide is invisible and odorless. And it kills people with houses worth $500,000, exactly the same way it kills people who live in plastic sheet vans. There is no class system to CO poisoning. There is only the $40 piece of plastic that beeps when you are dying, and the people who bought it before they needed it. Let me tie this back together. I left Sacramento with my friend driving me to the airport in his pickup, the truck cab smelling like coffee and clean cotton. He told me on the drive, the difference between what I saw on his street and what he has built over 10 years on the road is not income. He earns a fine living, but it is not extravagant. The difference is half a dozen small habits, performed every day, with no exceptions, by a man who decided he was not going to let the inside of his life fall apart just because the outside is on wheels. Walk every stop, shower whenever possible, cook your own food, talk to other drivers, mark the map, back into the spot, separate the buckets. And buy the $40 detector that will be the difference between waking up and not. He looks like a man who chose his life because he did, every morning, for 10 years, with discipline that most people who live in houses do not have. If you are watching this from your house, these rules are still yours, because losing the house is closer than most of you think. Flood, fire, layoff, a medical bill that takes the savings, a divorce, a roof you cannot fix. The vehicle in your driveway right now might be your home in 18 months, and the difference between the man at the dinner table and the people on the curb is whether you learned the rules before you needed them. Thank you, The Pack. You wrote this video. The OTR driver, the widow in the Subaru, the amputee in the Silverado, the retired veteran on his road trip, the UK van dweller. Keep commenting. I keep reading. We learn together. That is the whole point. Stay safe. Max out.